another layer to our understanding of the entire journey of leaving Mitzrayim and the entire journey of receiving the Torah. We're going to learn something from the Sefer HaChinuch, where he adds a new dimension that is part of the core fundamental belief in our life, which is that when the Torah says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzeicha me'eretz Mitzrayim, that I am the Lord your God who took you out of Egypt, that I am is the mitzvah of emunah, of a deep connection to the truth of God's existence. Says the Sefer HaChinuch, but the second part, it is I that took you out of the land of Egypt. Why is that there? Says the Sefer HaChinuch, V'asher omar asher hotzeicha, this that it says that I took you out. Loimar, to teach you, Shalo yefate levavchem, do not be seduced by funny seductions of your heart. Lokachas inyan tseischa me'avdus Mitzrayim u'makas hamitzrayim, that it shouldn't be that you're seduced and think that maybe we left Mitzrayim and maybe all the makas, maybe all the plagues were just chance, just a coincidence. Now, just an amazing coincidence. And those miracles, just right place at the right time. Just one big coincidence. We know that it was God alone, what's called. This was not derech mikra. This is not by coincidence. The Torah is pointing out, and this is a core belief, and ikr, is that we have to know that this was directly designed by God, foretold as a promise to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that God said, I will come and take you out, which means that we have to think to ourselves that Hashem said He would do this, and He did, and it's Hashem Himself taking us out and manipulating and changing all the laws of nature, that is an ikr, that's a fundamental belief. This is not chance. And for thousands of years, the Jewish people are conscious of this fact that this is not by chance. This is all deliberate. And we need to put this deeper into our heart. As the generations go, we need to infuse this deeper in our heart and think about this. Because if you don't think about this, there's all sorts of seductions in the world. Even though it's clear as day, it's in the Torah, it couldn't be more black and white as far as God presenting that this is what is the reality, that I foretold it and then I took you out. But if we don't think about this, then the Chinuch is saying that there's seductions that come into your mind. These are the seductions of the Yetzer Hara, and these seductions can make us think that things are just random. For example, Shalom brother, for example, when the Jewish people arrived at the Yam Suf, at the Red Sea, so we were being chased by the Egyptians from the back. If you look to the right, snakes and scorpions. Look to the left, wild beasts. You look in front of you, water. Not many places to go. So I one time heard somebody posit, there's a planet in the world called Venus. Anybody heard of the planet Venus? Well, Venus is unique. Venus has a certain gravitational pull that if Venus gets close to planet Earth, it has such a power and gravitational energy that it can bring water and pull it upwards. So exactly when the Jewish people were arriving at the Yam Suf, and it seemed that our fate was sealed, Venus just shows up, enters stage left, Venus, exactly at that moment, and pulls the water up with absolute precision, We walk through the Yam Suf, and exactly as we're moving, the Venus is just departing enough that as the Egyptians are going in, it's collapsing on them, opening for us at the same time. An unbelievable thing. Venus! Let's go! Now, we're okay with the fact that Venus has properties, that have powers that can pull elements. That's okay for us. But that's pretty good timing. Unbelievable timing on Venus's part. And by the way, 40 years later, when we're getting ready to enter the land with Joshua, and we need an extra long day, and the sun stands still in the sky. So wouldn't you know that Venus has a power that if it gets close, it can also stop the earth from moving? So right when we need that long day, exactly, the Jewish people look up to the heavens. Venus, let's go! Unbelievable timing! So, it's absurd. It's absurd. Who put the power into Venus? Who moved Venus exactly where it needs to be? Even if you go with the Venus theory, that Venus had to have these powers, who put Venus placed there exactly? It was not a chance. And for thousands of years, it's clear to the Jewish people, this is the opposite of anything called chance. This is not derech mikra. This is absolute, what's called hashkacha pratis. Absolutely guided by God. And as a mitzvah for us, in the entire rubric of the 13 core principles, is knowing that God doesn't run things by chance. It's all deliberate. That started to change by Yetzias Mitzrayim and by the giving of the Torah, as we're going to see, that's an important foundation of our belief. There's no chance. It's all deliberate. It's God's deliberate hand, so to speak, running things. What's called Ela Deu, says the Chinuch. You all have to know, Sha'anochi hu shahitzeisi eschem. It is I that took you out of Mitzrayim, bechefetz ubahashkacha, with a desire and with absolute awareness of everything, that it was I that's running it. And if that means that God is moving Venus, so be it. But it's God that's moving Venus. That God is doing everything, nothing is by chance. Kamoshe evtiach la'avoseinu, and like God promised to our forefathers, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that I promised that I would take you into a land that's not yours, and then I will take you out of that land, and it will be I that will take you out. Don't think it's Venus. It is I, Hashem says. I foretold that it would happen, it happened, and I'm the one that did it. So this is now an ikr. This is also what we learn in the Ramban, when the Ramban said the famous words, that we learn from the miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim, the big miracles, that God is running all the little miracles of the day. It's God behind your beating heart. It's God behind your lungs that are breathing. It's God behind all the little things that are happening. There's no such thing as what we call nature. God is running nature. God is running and operating nature. We know that the same word for nature, the gematria, is Elokim, is God. God is the one behind nature, moving everything. And God could change nature if He so wishes. So says the Ramban, Umenanisam agadolim v'amefursamim, and from the great miracles, Adam moide menisam anistarim. A person realizes that if God makes great miracles that completely shatter the natural world the way we know it, then it teaches me that it's God who's running the hidden miracles of my day-to-day life. And this is Yesod HaTorah Kula. This is the foundations of the entire Torah, is this belief system that God is running everything. There's nothing outside of God. As we're going to go deeper into the 13, we're inside of God right now. God is running everything. And says the Ramban, She'ein la'adam chelik b'Torahs Moshe Rabbeinu. if a person wants to be, so to speak, in the inner circle of the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, to be really connected to the truth of existence, which is called the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, it's only once he knows, B'kol divarenu v'mikrenu shekulam nisim. Everything is God's hand. God is running everything. Every situation, every encounter, every heartbeat. Ein behem teva v'minhagoi shel olam, bein berabim, bein biyachid, whether it's in large groups or as individuals. Ela im yaseh hamitzvus yatzlichenu scharo. And the Ramban says, and after we were given the Torah, something very, very important happened, which is those who keep the Torah and the mitzvahs, God will move nature around them. God will help them, as we spoke about on Thursday night with our Chevra, Ma toivu alecha Yaakov. God will move and allow the natural world to literally help you, and He'll provide reward for that, which we're going to see is also part of the 13. V'im yavar aleim yachrisenu anshay. And if a person, chas v'shalom, does not keep the Torah, then there's also that. Hakol begezeres elyon, and everything was set up from God's direction. So what are we now adding into the story? Nothing is chance. God is involved. God is organizing everything. Everything. And furthermore, He's organizing it according to our learning of Torah. This is very, very important. So now, what do we see? Everything that we do is now going to be in a way that we're going to help the world move. According to our actions in Torah, Hashem will respond now to all of our mitzvahs, which includes our thoughts, our speech, and our action. Which means our thoughts start creating spiritual realities, our words and our actions. Ubekula misgala shem hamafurish, and this is important. Remember, we said that everything started to shift with Moshe Rabbeinu and leaving Mitzrayim, as we went from God revealing Himself with certain names, but then God said, I'm going to reveal myself as Yud and a Hey and Vav and Hey, which is the name that's above all existence, which is the infinite existence of God. The way the Gra understands that Yud Kei Vav Kei, take away the Yud for a second, means Hoveh, right? What does Hoveh mean? Present, here, existence. A Yud before a Hebrew word can mean future, like Yeh, will be in the future. But a Yud before a word could also mean something that is always happening. Like it says about Eov, Kacha Yase Eov. Not that Eov would do this, but Eov would always do this. This is what he would always do. So if you put the Yud before the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, so what do you come to? You come to God is always being. God is alwaysing. That's beyond all physicality, all finiteness. So that's where God comes in and He says, everything is happening through me. Everything. Now wait a second. Didn't the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov have this? Wasn't he also directly involved in their life? So the answer is yes, but it was different. That God is involved in every single detail, which we call hashkacha pratis. We know that the Avos knew this. But the hashkacha for them was known to them in a certain way. And the Ramban points this out also in Bereshis. And he says, V'tam lahazkir at zeh Hashem. The name of Kel Shakai, that is showing that God is involved in all the hidden miracles for the righteous. And those righteous people are connected to God. This is talking about before the Torah is given. And God is guiding them and helping them and doing great miracles for them. Lahatzil memamas nafsham, Like when Avram Avinu was thrown into the furnace and he pops right out. And the Kabbalah books say that Avram Avinu was so on fire for God that he burned the furnace. He was hotter than the furnace. So the bigger miracle was that the furnace didn't burn up. He was so on fire for God, so he was obviously saved through the name of Kel Shakai, Lachayosim Barav, and when there was famine, God can save. Lifdoisam b'milchamis miyad cherev, and to save them, redeem them in any type of war, any type of sword. Kechol anisim hanasim la'avram la'avos, all the great miracles that happened to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and his children. But something else happened by the giving of the Torah. When the Torah was given, everything now moved to a place of, according to the mitzvahs that you do, you will now shift the world. According to the mitzvahs that you do, now you're going to be shifting, and God will exactly operate according to the mitzvahs that you're doing, or God forbid the opposite. Which means now we enter a new reality of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is all based on Torah, and it's all now going to be based on our actions, and then Hashem will bring the hashkacha all based on that. Masha ana mechuyavim laham ba'hashkacha shel schar va'onish lefi kiyum mitzvahs ha'Torah hu mikoyach gilui shel anisim ha'geluyim b'yetzias Mitzrayim. Once Mitzrayim happened, something new happened. Because now we saw miracles that completely shattered every part of nature. We rebuilt the world out of the 10 Commandments, like we mentioned. And now the world is completely running based on the power of the 10 Commandments of Torah. That's now the new existence of all of reality. And that's happening through Yud Kei Vav Kei, which the Torah is coming out of Yud Kei Vav Kei. V'nisbar boi sha'olam hischadesh v'niver b'rotzon Hashem shebeTorah. V'lachein hatzlachas Yisrael teluya b'kiyam ha'Torah. And therefore, the success of the Jewish people is all based on us keeping the Torah. And when we keep the Torah, it's going to be good and will bring goodness to humanity and goodness to the whole world and peace and blessing and all the good things that we want. The world now operates from that. And the world that's upset is really, really wanting to wake us up into more Torah and mitzvahs at its core, at its deepest core. And we have a big responsibility to live with Torah and mitzvahs, because that's going to bring the great peace and blessing to the world. Now, there's an amazing piece in the Rambam, which has to be pointed out, which is that the Torah that we keep now is not because Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov kept it. We know that Avram Avinu learned the entire Torah. He came to it through his intuition. The Zohar says he learned all the mitzvah saseh from his right kidney, all the loy saseh from his left kidney. The klayas yoyotzos, they gave him certain wisdom.
Is that also Netzach and Od, the
Yeah.
right and the left kidney?
Yeah. So he learned great things from essentially his deep, deep intuition. Avram Avinu was on a very great spiritual journey, and he discovered, and he did bris milah. Well, Hashem told him to do bris milah. And Yaakov Avinu didn't eat gid hanashe, and there were other mitzvahs that they kept. Avram Avinu kept everything. But the reason why we don't eat gid hanashe is not because Yaakov Avinu didn't eat gid hanashe. And the reason why we make bris milah is not because Avram Avinu did a bris milah. It's an important distinction. The reason why we do bris milah is because Hashem said in the Torah to do bris milah. And the reason why we don't eat gid hanashe is because in the Torah of Moshe it says to not eat gid hanashe. And therefore everything now shifted, that the Avos, who are our forefathers, they began the journey, but the core emunah of the Jew is coming from Yetzias Mitzrayim. and coming from the receiving of the Torah, where there's national revelation, and we're now all receiving together as a people a national revelation of God speaking to all of us and giving us the entire Torah that we're accepting. It's the power of that. That's the core. Yes, Avraham Avinu, our forefather, also tapped into this energy of Bris Milah. Yes, Yaakov tapped into the energy of Ger Anasha, etc. But the reason why we're keeping it is because of the Torah, because of Kabbalas HaTorah. It's a very important part of the whole story of Emunah. V'zeh shekosav Ramban u'min hanisim hagdolim hamufursamim odem moide b'nisam min historim shem yisoid haTorah, that it says if you want to have a part of Torah's Moshe Rabbeinu, kloimar loy nitin lahagia lahakara b'nisam min historim ki yisoid haTorah. If you want to see that Hashem is running everything in your life, the only way to get there is to start thinking about the great miracles of leaving Mitzrayim. That's going to be the portal and the entry point to seeing that Hashem is running the day-to-day things of your life in absolute precision. That's why, like we said, we write this on our doorposts. We have this in our tefillin. We're speaking about this. You make kiddush, you're talking about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Every single year, by the Pesach Seder, we're giving this over to our children. And that's 600,000 families, heads of family, giving to their children, giving to their children, giving to their children, until today. Until today. We're all saying it to our kids. And it's continuing on. That we see the transmission is very, very strong. And not only that, there are many first-hand documents of I heard from my father, and he heard from his father, and he heard from his father. Go this way. Don't just go this way, back to Sinai. Go this way. And he heard, and he can tell you that this person is this person's father. And I know this person's father, and he said to his son, but leave Mitzrayim. So you go this way, and you go back, all the way to Mount Sinai. It's very, very strong. It's on our heads. We're wearing tefillin. Can't deny that. It's written. We all left Mitzrayim. It's on our doorposts. It's everywhere. So the Ramban is saying, if you really want to get to the deep understanding and the appreciation of God running every single thing in the world now, which is an ikar of emunah, you have to spend time looking at the big, big nisim, the big miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim, thinking about this. And that's why Passover night is like the download of the year. You know, no pressure for the fathers here, but it's like big, big download night for your kids. And that's why the night is actually not about saying like what one of my rabbis calls FDW, fantastically deep wisdom. It's not about like fancy drushas and fancy complex, pshatim and toisvis and pshetlach. It's literally about saying the transmission as clear as possible. Something that a 3-year-old could understand. It's about making it literally as crystal clear. And I was able to go to great people's homes, Passover, everything they would say was just clear. God took us out of Mitzrayim because He loves us. We have a great, great, great Zaidi named Avram, and he had a son named Yitzchak. And Yitzchak had a son named Yaakov. And Yaakov had 70 souls that went down to Mitzrayim. And there was challenges there. And we screamed out to God. And there was Redeemer Moshe Rabbeinu. And it's clear language. And the whole thing is about giving this to the kids. And we're still doing this today. And for us, why we're learning here is to integrate this and meditate deeply, deeply on this reality. Because this will open up our eyes to Hashem's involvement in our life every single second. We should be zoicha mamish to integrate these ideas, to feel these ideas. And b'siyata d'shma will be zoicha to Mashiach Tzidkeinu in the binyan Beis HaMikdash and peace in the world. Amen. Kol tov, hatzlacha.